Hello again, everyone. This is Joe Henches with Beyond the Chart, and this is stock trade ideas for the week of March 23rd, 2015. Today is Sunday, March 22nd. We're going to walk through review some of the trade ideas that we exited last week. There were 5 of them actually, and 2 of them that I'm currently in that we got in last week, 18th and 19th, and then 2 more that I'm looking at for possibly for tomorrow. All right, so let's start off here with GoPro. GoPro, we got in with a trade idea, thinking of going long here on the 7th. Let's see, when was it? The 12th, right here on this day. Thinking this was going to break out, looked like it was reversing, thought we were going to break on out of this declining wedge, and it started to do it. But I was only going to give it this. I called this my entry day, and I was going to give it 3 more days. We started to get good move on the second day. I mean the second day, and then this third day it kind of paused and went sideways on us. And then the 4th day I thought, okay, here we go, and it was running on up, and then it formed on a 30-minute chart. It formed a consolidation pattern that I was expecting it to break out of. It had an hour and a half left in the day, and then it failed and didn't do it. And I was like, I'm out. Okay, that was 3 days. I was going to give it 3 days after the entry day, mainly because I had looked at other moves in here. This was an entry day here, 3-day move, really nice pop in here. This was an entry day here and a 3-day move. And so when I didn't, and I saw it several times throughout its history, and so when I didn't see that materialized, I said, okay, I'm out, because that was my plan. It was 3 days, and we got a small profit out of it, so, can't complain about the fact that, we got profit. It just didn't move like I was hoping it to move. All right, the next one we're going to look at is Delta Airlines, and the same thing happened here with Delta to a certain degree. Got in, had an entry, got the signal here, and entered right at the open the next day. Ran throughout the day, then closed back down right where it opened, basically. Little doji bars the next couple of days, and then it started to sell off, and I thought, okay, this is struggling to break this trend line, which, when I saw this little doji bar on the break, that's not very strong, and I was starting to get a little apprehensive about it when it did. And then when I started to get this sell-off here, I was like, okay, I'm not getting the price action I was thinking I was going to see on this move based on these first couple of days. So I decided to go ahead and exit on out of here. Small loss on the options, but and then we turn around and get this move here. But again, nice bullish looking bars, but it's not going anywhere fast, or at least not at the moment. It doesn't seem to be acting that way. Now you're getting a little bit of a moving average cross here, but I'm not looking at getting back in on this, at least not at the moment. So, and by the way, all the details for this are on my Trade Ideas webpage, which, you simply just have to sign up to be a subscriber to get access to that webpage. But all the details are laid out there. When I have a trade idea, I talk about, where am I looking at for an entry? Where am I looking at for a stop on this? Where am I looking at for a target? What option am I looking at? That type of thing, because we're all trying to learn, we're trying to share this from an educational standpoint, and, trying to get as many of these trade ideas to work out as I possibly can. And so, that's a part of the whole process. So I've tried to give as much information on those trade ideas as I can, and they're all on that webpage. So, all right, let's move on to the next one, Adobe, which kind of ripped my head off on this one, which we got in on the 16th, which was right here. And what's interesting about this is if you look at this right after the 16th, which is, if I can do this, it's not cooperating. All right, so right in here, let me blow it up a little bit more. So we got in right in here on, I say 16th. And maybe it was, okay, it was the 16th in here. I think it was breaking the high because we got a couple closes above the 10. I thought we were moving because we had this 21 above the 55, above the 233, Felt like these were all aligned. Thought this was going to resume the push to the high side. Thought we had a little bit of a bullish count and bullish move going on here. And then it got this big strong bar on the day of the earnings release, and then the earnings came out afterwards, and bam, they slammed it because of some, quote unquote slight disappointment in the number of cloud subscribers, I think, or either something to do with the outlook. I can't remember which, but the stop I was using on here was 2 ATR stop, and that got hit here on this day on the move down in the morning. So we got stopped out. Now, if I was using the other stop that I use many times, I would still be in this trade. And now whether or not that would still get stopped out, we'll see, which is 2 consecutive closes below the 10 and then the break of the low of that. But anyway, be that as it may, we get stopped out on Adobe and out of that trade. So it's going to be interesting to see whether or not this resumes. I could get, if it keeps pushing in here, it could get a nice little pivot, a nice little swing trade off of this. If you were to do this, if it were to break this trend line, if it continues up like in this and then pushes up above, kind of like, coming off of this little swing move that it had here. Now, whether or not that's going to get that kind of momentum and do that right now is to be seen. All right, the next one we're going to take a look at is VIPs. And this one, I was trying to play a little bit of a counter trend move, which again, with all 4 moving averages aligned, a little more risky. We had 2 out of the 3 indicators were showing bearish divergence. And so as it broke below this point here, I was thinking this was a sell. We were probably about a day late, but I waited to buy puts until it got back up closer to this point, the entry point in here. And I thought we were going to get a little bit of a break down into maybe the 55-day moving average. Well, it didn't happen. It resumed the closes, couple of closes above the 10, and it resumed the upward trend here. So we'll see what happens. We're out of the trade, got stopped out right here at the top of this. This was the stop at the top of this bar right there. So that didn't work, going against probably a little too strong a trend. And so, 2020 hindsight, probably would have waited till all 3 of the indicators were showing bearish divergence before something like that was going to work, especially on VIPs with all the moving averages aligned. Now, the next one we're going to take a look at is FireEye. And there's actually 2 trade ideas. I got in on this with calls on the 13th, which was right here. And again, this was one where it felt like the 21-day was pretty strongly to the high side, felt like this was about to resume the push to the high side. Got in right in here, and what does it do? It stalls out, kind of goes sideways, struggling the next couple of days. Then we start to ramp up and we get going here. And I thought, okay, maybe we're off to the races. But the one thing that started to bother me significantly was the way this moving average had crossed below the 21, the way the 10 had crossed down below this and stayed down here with this sideways move. And then on the 19th, which was Thursday, getting this little reversal type action in here. That's when I said, I don't like that type of action based on the way the moving averages are aligned. It reminded me a lot of what I saw back over here at the end of November, where the moving averages had crossed, it kind of went sideways, got a little bit of that reversal type action, just like on the 19th. And then what did it do? It just broke down, and it broke down. And granted, you had one rally day, but then it just broke down for several weeks in a row. So we'll see right now the follow through. And so I got out of the calls, and on the same day got into puts. Okay, at the same time, got into puts, and the puts are working out very nicely at the moment based on the action of what happened on Friday. And so this is a pretty negative looking close to me. This closed below the low of the last 3 days. So not just broke the low of the last 3 days, it closed below the low. The low here was 41.79. We closed 41.69. So a close below the low of the last 3 days, a close below the 10-day exponential moving average. And this looks like it's going to at least come back down. What I'm looking at is you get this gap right here, okay? There's a little bit of a gap here, but a bigger gap here. It may come down just to the top of the gap. We'll see, or it may try to close the gap. But I'm kind of expecting at least a move down to the top of the gap, and part of that I'm basing on like a swing move of maybe equal legs. So if you said, here's leg 1, and you come back and say the end of that, where does leg 2 equal leg 1? 100%. So it equals it right in here, right about 38 1/4, 38 3/8, that type of thing. Or right very close to the low in here, which is the top of the gap. So that's what I'm kind of looking at, and we'll see whether or not FireEye continues to do a little bit more of a pullback before it does any kind of strong rally. So that's where we're in and riding at the moment. Okay, the other one that we are currently in is IBM, and this is working out nicely so far too. This one, I saw this potential head and shoulders bottom that I was looking at, and then when we got this close here, let me get rid of the crosshairs for the moment. We got this close here on the 18th, which was Wednesday. I said, okay, I like that price action. We're getting in at the open. The next, actually, I think I may have gotten in right at the close. I did at the close because I was watching and looking for this, and then it's had a pause on Thursday, and then had a nice, really nice bullish move on Friday. So this I really like it. And then let me take a look at the volume. The volumes come in very nice. So 2 out of the last 3 days, the 2 bullish bars had nice volume above the 50-day moving average, which was good. Now, the only negative that I'm seeing so far on this scenario is I like this price action, or the volume action coming in here, is this move from the head to the neckline. I would have liked to have seen more volume in there on this move, but we'll see whether or not we get enough, volume building in here on it. And let's see what, the indicators, I mean, it's above the 50 on the RSI. The DI plus is crossed above DI minus, and the demand index is positive. All the indicators are in positive territory. This looks like it's tracking. To confirm this, it needs to break this neckline here, okay? And if it does, if I measure from here to here, project up, this is the head and shoulders target, which again is kind of interesting, because if that's the target for the head and shoulders move, well, that is slightly above closing this huge gap that occurred back here on October 20th. So that'd be back up in here. So actually, if I had to say where is a target zone, I'd put it right at the top of that gap, right across to here, and say between there and the measurement off the head and shoulders, that this would be a great target zone if this breaks this neckline and continues to push the high side. So that's IBM right now, is tracking very nicely. Our calls are up very nicely, so very pleased about that. All right, let's take a look at Apple. Apple's one that, based on the close and the price action, and I know it's kind of a funky close, especially the last minute or two, but on a daily chart, close is a close. And right now we got a close below the 2-day low, close below the 10-day exponential moving average, and just like FireEye, we have got the 10 below the 21. So this looks like it's rolling over to me, and part of this is that I think we have a set of 5 waves completed to the high side, and we are now into corrective mode, which can take a lot of different shapes. I think there's 13 different variations on corrective modes that can develop. But either way, I mean, if you just take a very simple, again, like I was talking about, even on FireEye, and project, a 2-legged move, and said, well, okay, here's the first leg, go back to this intermediate move here in the second leg, you're talking about this leg being equal to the first leg down around 117 or so. So we'll see what kind of price action we continue to get out of this. But right now, I'm looking for to enter, at the close. We'll see. We may get a little bounce because of the fact that it was kind of a quick sell off the last minute on Friday. But I'll be looking to try to enter with puts on Monday morning. So we'll have to look to see that. Again, the details will be on the Trade Ideas webpage. The last one today is on SanDisk. Now this is interesting because SanDisk, I've been looking for this to roll back over, okay? Because this choppy action, counter trend to this big move down, I've been waiting for this thing to roll back over to the downside. And I've talked about this before. Well, it didn't do it. I thought it was going to happen maybe here on Wednesday, but then no, look at this move Thursday, Friday. Very nice. But when you look at the move from here to here, okay, what I think is like a wave 3, looking to say, okay, well, what kind of retracement's going on? Well, it's approaching a potential 50% retracement. Now, the play I'm looking at is here's a 20-day high, okay? If this comes back down and gets below this high point here, 84.95, and gets below it tomorrow, again, this is set up for tomorrow only, I think that's very negative and be looking to get into puts. Now, I look back and say, when did this ever do this before? Well, look at this little scenario right back up in here. Okay, we had a little bit of a counter trend move going on after a nice little move started, a little counter trend, got a 20-day high right in here. You closed above it nicely, very similar to what we just did on Friday. And then the very next day got this, sell-off and got down below that previous peak. And then it just rolled right on over. So I will be watching for that scenario tomorrow. If this happens tomorrow, I will be getting into puts. So that's the scenario on SanDisk. All right, that's it for today. A lot of discussion, 16 minutes. Try to shut this thing down. Thanks for stopping by, everybody. And I'm hoping to have a little announcement about some things I've got in the works. Hoping to have that out tomorrow, so kind of look for that, and we'll go from there. Everyone have a great Monday, Tuesday, and we'll be back Tuesday night.